Have you ever had that strange feeling that reality is just off? Like you're walking down the same hallway you've seen before, but something is different? Something is wrong? Ethan was walking through his office building late at night. He had stayed behind to finish some paperwork. But now, as he made his way toward the exit, an eerie silence settled in. The air felt heavy, unnatural. The fluorescent lights above flickered erratically, casting sharp, shifting shadows on the walls. Just as he reached for the exit door, he felt the floor beneath him tilt violently. A high-pitched ringing filled his ears. His vision warped as if the world itself was being rewritten in real time. Then, nothing. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying face down on something soft yet damp. The smell of mildew filled his nostrils. He pushed himself up, disoriented. The floor was covered in an endless stained yellow carpet. The walls around him were an ugly shade of faded yellow, peeling at the edges. Overhead, the buzzing of fluorescent lights drilled into his skull. Ethan turned in slow circles. He was in a vast, empty space. A labyrinth of hallways stretched in every direction, identical in their dull monotony. "Hello?" he called out. His voice was swallowed by the space, no echo, no response. A world that doesn't belong. Minutes turned into hours as Ethan walked. The corridors twisted endlessly, yet never changed. Every turn led him to another identical hallway, another stretch of that same stained carpet and those flickering lights. His phone was useless, no signal, and worse, the battery was draining at an unnatural rate. It had been fully charged when he left the office. Now it was at 12% and dropping. As he wandered, Ethan noticed something even more unsettling. His footsteps didn't sound right. They were muffled, swallowed by the carpet. But sometimes, just sometimes, he swore he could hear another set of footsteps, slightly out of sync with his own. His breathing grew unsteady. He turned a corner and suddenly stopped. In front of him, a long corridor stretched out, far darker than the others. The lights flickered slower there, as if struggling. A deep, wet sound echoed down the hallway. Ethan took a step back. The presence was no longer just an idea. It was real, and it was aware of him. He turned and ran. The air grew heavier, the lights around him buzzing louder as if the very walls of the backrooms could feel his panic. His own ragged breathing filled his ears, drowning out everything else, until he heard it. A scraping, a dragging sound. It was following him. He darted through hallway after hallway, turning sharply, hoping to lose whatever was behind him. But no matter how far he ran, the environment never changed. It was endless, repetitive, an infinite nightmare. Then the worst realization hit him. He wasn't just running randomly. The back rooms were guiding him. He had turned right, left, straight, right again. Yet he suddenly found himself back at the dark corridor where he had first seen the presence. Only this time, it was closer. Ethan turned and sprinted again, but his legs were growing heavy. The hum of the lights turned into an unbearable screech. The very walls seemed to breathe, their surfaces stretching and contracting in unnatural ways. He spotted something ahead, a doorway. A real doorway. The first one he had seen. Hope surged through him, and he pushed himself forward. Just as he reached it, his foot caught on something, and he fell hard. The impact knocked the air from his lungs, and as he looked back, his heart stopped. The creature was there. It loomed over him, its body shifting like liquid, a faceless, featureless humanoid with limbs too long and movements too jerky to be human. It tilted its head, observing him. It had no eyes, yet he felt its gaze digging into his very soul. He scrambled backward, reaching desperately for the doorway, his fingers brushing against its solid frame. The creature lunged. With every ounce of strength left in him, Ethan threw himself through the door and landed face first onto cold pavement. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on a sidewalk. The warm glow of streetlights illuminated the world around him. Cars passed by in the distance. The sounds of the city filled his ears. He was back. His chest heaved as he tried to process what had happened. Had it been a dream? A hallucination? Then he noticed something. His shoes. They were still damp with that same mildew-scented moisture, and clutched in his hand was a strip of yellow, peeling wallpaper. A cold shiver ran through him as he stood up on shaky legs. From the alley behind him, where he had just emerged, a low buzzing sound echoed once more. The Backrooms. Do you think the Backrooms are real? Have you ever experienced something that felt off, like you weren't supposed to be there? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more terrifying stories. You never know when you might find yourself in a place you can't escape.